welcome to a new episode of the Yarn Creations podcast. I'm Adela and I live in Pretoria in South Africa, and this is where I show all my yarn related craft, or definitely mostly yarn related. Knitting, crochet and weaving, that is what keeps me busy at the moment. And I've got quite a lot to share today because it has been a while. It's difficult to find the exact right moment with enough light and not, if it's overcast, it's a little bit more difficult to show the colors of what I'm busy with. And there sometimes is too much noise in the house. My son is working from home most of the time, and he has a loud voice, and he's on the phone. His work is very much call related to speak to clients, and so I just don't want you to hear what he's saying to his clients. So today seems to be a little bit quieter and the weather is a bit better. So I thought I must just grab the moment and show you what I'm busy with. So I'll just get right into it because I think this might be a little bit of a longer episode. So I want to show you first what I've finished. The first very, very big project that I finished. It is a big project, but it didn't take that long. And it's the weaving the blanket that I wove on my 70 centimeter Ashford knitters loom. I wove 2 panels. I used African Expressions Harmony. That's a 100% superwash merino. It's a little bit stretchy, so I was a bit worried that the 2 panels won't line up. And I was 90% there. So I'm quite happy for a first go. It's not that bad. I'm quite happy with it. It's big, so I can't really open it completely. Look at all the beautiful tassels. I decided not to twist them. I did wash the blanket and it didn't become too tatty. I just knotted them. I think it's a trellis knot or something. I'm not sure what it's called. And I'm very happy with how I'm very happy with the final result. I did hand stitch the 2 panels together, and I decided rather to try and hide the seam, I'm going to use one of the lighter colors, and I just used the back stitch. And I did it to the one direction and then came back over that once again, just to make sure that it's well, the 2 panels are well are secure, if I can, securely joined. I think that might be a fairly correct description. Sorry for that. I struggle to sometimes find the correct words, so just be patient with me. Because it is quite a heavy blanket, I just wanted to make sure that the 2 panels are securely attached to each other. And then I used a fairly thinner yarn, a fingering weight yarn, and just did a single crochet around the outer edges, just to have something just in a charcoal color, just to make it a little bit neater at the edges, because I did struggle a little bit to keep my edges even because the yarn is a little bit stretchy. But I'm very happy. It's big and it's a very practical, usable blanket, and that is what I prefer. I did write down the size, so if you just want to see, where did I write it down? I did write it down somewhere. I just have to find it. Oh, I warped 2.5 meters on my 70 centimeter Ashford Knitters loom, as I said. The end product, after washing and attaching the two panels, joining the two panels together, is 1.8 meters long and 1.3 meters wide. The blanket weighs 1.25 kilogram. That's what I used. That's not what I used. I used approximately 1.4 kilograms of yarn. That's a lot. That's 28 50-gram balls of African Expressions Harmony, and it came entirely out of my stash. I had, I've really got, I think, 2 or 3 balls left. I've really got very little left. I wanted to use most of it, and I think I succeeded. I worked it out. I did some maths before the time of how long I can warp and what the width is that I can weave, so that I can use most of it, and I succeeded. The yarn waste, the loom waste, was approximately 150 grams. So that's 3 balls of yarn. That's not too bad. For a blanket, I think you have a little bit more waste because you don't have a long fringe like you would have for a scarf. So I did cut off a little bit more of the warp that was left to make a shorter fringe. And because and of course for a scarf you will have a longer fringe, so you will have less loom waste. But I think it's not too bad. It's really a very nice blanket. I really like the result. I'm very happy with it, and I'm looking forward to weaving another blanket. What I think I will do is I will weave I will warp one long panel and just weave, and then afterwards cut it and sew it together. And I think that way the tension of the warp will be better for the panels, because it's difficult if you warp two different panels. It's a little bit difficult to get the tension even. So up to the time when I can learn to double weave, so that I can weave a double width of a blanket and I don't have to sew the panels together, I will rather do that and warp one long warp and then cut it afterwards. I'm going to try that, and I must just stop being lazy and just do some classes, online classes on how to double weave, and I'm sure it's not that big of a deal. I must just do it. So that's one of my goals for the future. So that is the one finished object. And then I've got 2 pairs of socks that I've finished. This is the one pair that I've shown you. I think I had one done in one of my previous episodes. It's a Katja design line, Cafe Facette design line. 2 50-gram balls that was gifted to me by a friend, and I really enjoyed knitting them. I enjoyed the stripes. That's all different widths. So I thought that the heel flap and gusset, it doesn't matter if you do a heel flap and gusset for this, because the stripes aren't the same width in any case, so it doesn't really matter. I did my usual 64 stitches. I did use 2.5 Chiagu magic loop, 20 rows 2 by 2 rib and 60 rows for the leg, and then 20 repeats for the slip stitch heel flap, and then my usual 4 sets of decreases underneath the foot. And then I did the umbrella toe from Kay Jones. I did thought that I can make them the same, but can you see there's a little bit, this is my the first sock that I did, and that I started with that little blue stripe. That was the start of the ball, and I don't know why I didn't even look, but I thought that the balls will be all the same, but it's not the case. And when I started the second sock, I saw that it's quite a lot of yarn that I would have to cut before I come to the blue, so that I can have that little blue stripe that I had in the first sock. So I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to start where the ball starts, and I really don't mind if they are not the same. I like the difference in the socks. No boring moment. I did knit them quite quickly because I think that having the stripes in socks really keeps you motivated to continue knitting on the socks. So I enjoyed knitting them, and I'm really glad that they are finished. And this is the pink rose socks. I've shown you them before as well. It's a new pattern by Noma from BiggerthanLife Knits, and the pattern has been released. And now the yarn is a little bit darker than it shows up here. I do love the lace cuff. And in this one, you can see the 1 by 1 ribbing that's underneath the cuff. And a very nice and pretty pull dot pattern on the instep. Slip stitch heel. I just used, I did the 64 stitch pattern, and I used BFL Blue Faced Leicester base that was hand dyed by Natasha from Indie Bell Fibers. I bought it last year when I started knitting socks. I bought it last year online from Be Inspired. She had a little bit of stock left on that. I've still got, I wanted to show you the other socks that I knitted in the reverse colors, mostly in the lighter color and then the contrast in this color. I knitted the Valentine Advent socks from Kay Jones. That was a Patreon pattern in February. Advent pattern up to Valentine's Day. And this is the yarn that was left from that pair. And I've still got, I think, 2 skeins left. I really like how this wool, this yarn knits up. I used a 2.5 millimeter, 2.25 millimeter as suggested in the pattern for this, and I think if I knit with this again, I will also again use the 2.25 millimeter needle for that. Of course, you start the lace cuff with a 3 millimeter, and then when I went when I had to do these pull rows, I went down to a 2.75 millimeter. Because I find that my pull rows are always a little bit looser. So I went down to the 2.75 millimeter just for those 3 pull rows, and then I continued again the lace parts with the 3 millimeter, and then the rest in the 2.25 millimeter. The needles I use for all my socks, mostly for knitting my socks, is the Chiagu. Um, got one of the tags here. It's a Chiagu twist red lace interchangeables. So it's an interchangeable, and I find that if you use a little rubber grip from Chiagu just to tighten them up, they don't ever come loose. So it's really a good thing to get those little rubber grips, and then when you attach the cord to the needle, just tighten them, holding the needle with that rubber grip, and that really helps to keep them fixed tight enough so that they don't come loose while you're knitting your socks. And for the lace part, when I had to use the 3mm and the 2.75mm, I used my tulip fine gauge needles. It also has a very nice thin cable, ideal for knitting socks in magic loop. So that is everything I think about the socks. Yes, I think so. And then the other finished item is actually what I'm wearing. It's the shawl pattern is called Easy by Marthina Behm from Strickmich. It's a very nice versatile pattern, and it's because I don't think I'm a big shawl wearer. Maybe if you go out in the evenings, I would wear a bigger shawl. It's not something I have done in the past year. I don't know when that will happen for me again. I'm not usually one that goes out a lot in the evenings, but this is something that I can wear during the day, and it keeps me warm. It's more like a scarf, and I like that. I will just take it off so that I can show you the shape. It's a very shallow shape, and you start here. I started here at this with a very few stitches, and then you increase every row and keep increasing. And then when you think the pattern says when you used 50% of your yarn, but I had more than enough, so I continued. I think I weighed, and this part is about, it's about 70 grams, because the whole scarf weighs about 140 grams. And then you change direction, and I think you start here. Yes, you start here, and you increase again on this side, and then you attach it to these stitches. So you're actually doing short rows, and every time attach it to this. A very neat, it's like a decorative joining that I like very much. And then you just continue till you have joined all the stitches, and then you bind off. So this is my bind off. I think I used the Russian bind off once again. So the yarn I used is a merino lace. I'm just going to put it on because I miss the nice cozy warmth. This is my favorite way of wearing these kind of shawl, scarf, whatever you call it. Just tie a little knot here. Oh, I love it. And the knitted arm warmers I'm wearing is the Wristticklers by Kay Jones. I knitted them last year out of scraps of yarn, and I really like wearing them in winter because my arms are so long. The sleeves of any store-bought tops are usually too short for me, so I like to wear my wrist warmers, and I feel much warmer when I've got them on. It's a free pattern by Kay Jones, the Wristticklers, and it's a perfect way to practice knitting magic loop before you want to, if you want to knit socks. It's a perfect way to practice knitting magic loop if you want to knit your socks magic loop, of course. The yarn I used for the scarf is merino lace singles, and I used 2 strands held together throughout the scarf. I don't have all the colors left. Some of them I had 6 colors, and 2 of them I completely used up because it wasn't full. They were all 50-gram skeins, but some of them I used in other projects, so I completely used them up in the scarf, but this is what I've got left. So I never used one color held double. I always combined 2 different colors, and then I would take this one away and add another color. Not this, there was too much contrast, but I had other colors in between that I held double, and then I would change and held those 2 held together. And in that way you can actually create your own long color change yarn. You can make your own yarn, and that is what I really like about marling. It's called marling in knitting, and you can really create your own colorway by using lace weight yarn held double, or if you want a thicker fabric, you can use 3 strands held together. So that is the Easy, just Easy by Marthina Behm. It's available. I think she's got a website, and it's on Ravelry as well. And then the other finished, well, not finished objects because it's been a while and I've been busy, is my circles in a hexagon cushion. I'm really happy with how it, with the finished, I'm really happy with it. It's pretty. And again, I used one of those cushions. It's a 60 by 60 size cushion with already had a cover on it that I bought from Mr. Price. And I just continued joining the hexagons. The pattern is, the recipe is on my Facebook page, Yarn Creations, if you want to have a look there. But it's very easy. It's just a four round circle. There's lots of patterns for that. I started with 12, and then 24, and then 36, and then 48. And then I did for the corner, I did a double crochet, chain 2 double crochet, and in the stitch on opposite sides of the corner I did 2 double crochets, and then in between that I did, for 5 stitches I did a half double crochet. And then the second round is single crochets, and then I did the PLT join. That means that you have to take your hook out of your crochet and then pull the loop through from underneath. It's the way that Rochelle from Cypress Textiles does all her joining, and I just love it. It's just such a neat way of joining squares. You can always look it up on her website or blog, Cyprus Textiles, and you can look for the PLT single crochet join or just PLT join, and there's several different ways of doing it. So yeah, and then at the bottom I just stitched it together, the corners. I suppose I could have put a motif in there, but it's not really bothering me. And then at the top I added buttons, just different color. I think it's wooden buttons that I had in my stash. I've got a stash of buttons. I don't know why I've got so many buttons. I think when um, I must have gone through a phase where I bought pretty buttons. I can't even remember why. So I've got a stash, and these buttons were just perfect to combine with the colors in the cushion, so I can take the cover off and wash it if I want to. So that is the 60 by 60 size. And I did write down, it's in total 66 motifs that I had to crochet, and that's actually quite a lot. It took me a while to finish it. And in the last, of course, you will just attach the motifs until you've got the width that you want. And then I just went around, and then the difficult part was actually to combine the last set of motifs, because I had to actually attach it there, and there, so to close it up completely. And then the next motif I had to, you can crochet one side and then you have to attach it to 5 other sides. So that's only a little bit uncomfortable, but you don't have to do it over the cushion, of course. You can just, and then you've got a lot of ends to sew in afterwards. But I did, what I mostly do is I thread the most ends, I thread through the, when I'm finished with a color, I will thread the end through the back loop of the top of the crochet stitches, and then I crochet over that. So I think it's fairly secure, especially for a cushion. So I didn't have that many ends to weave in, but for the grey there was a lot, was a few. And I just want to show you, this is another cushion that I also made out of scrap 3-ply double knit yarns from various indie dyers, just little bits left over from various projects over the years. And it's just a 3-round hexagon. You also start with 12 double crochet, and then you got the 2 double crochet in each stitch, and then in the 3rd round I did 2 double crochet, 2 chain, 2 double crochet, and then a 3 double crochet. And at the same time I joined in between those, so on both sides of the 3 double crochet cluster and in the corner, also with a PLT join, of course. So this was a 45 by 45 centimeter, also Mr. Price cushion, and yeah, I like it also. I like it very much. It's very colorful. It gives my life color. And this is also a cushion I made. This is a very small one. This is a 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter. I knitted these mitered squares, and I also used 2 strands of lace, merino lace singles. And my idea was to make a lot of big squares, 4 by 4, in different color themes, and then make a blanket out of it. And when I had the 4x4, the 16 squares attached, I used 2 strands of nurturing fibers lace to knit a log cabin edge around the whole square. But I realized that I'm really struggling, because even if I do have a lot of merino lace singles, because I like to I like to maul in knitting and crochet. And still, it was quite difficult to get enough combinations to have some difference between the squares, so that they don't look like that, so that 2 squares next to each other don't look too much, don't have the same color. I don't know. There must be contrast. That's right, the word I'm looking for. To have enough contrast between the squares. It was quite difficult, even if I used 2 different yarns. And for me to make, say, about 6 or 8 big squares like this in different color themes, I still didn't have enough merino lace, and I don't think it would matter if I had more. It was just, I just struggled, and I ripped back quite a few squares. When I will knit the whole square, and then when I get perspective of it, I don't like how it matches, and I just struggled a lot. So I decided I would really love to knit a blanket like this, but I will use a single strand of a fingering weight or sport weight in different colors. But I think you will get an easier contrast with just 1 strand of yarn. So I took the 2 squares that I have completed a long time ago, and I found a little small 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter pillow in my house. It did have another crochet cover on it. I just took that one off and washed it, and I will find another little cushion for that, and I attached some buttons. I think I crocheted, yes, I did a crochet edge here, and then some some slip stitch loops, and then I just attached the buttons to this side, and I just fold it over like an envelope, and so I can also take it off and wash it. So this is the one side, and this is the other side. And I quite like my cushion collection that is really growing. So, well, that's quite a lot of finished objects. I will just have to quickly show you what I'm busy with. I will see what I can show you, and then the rest I will leave for next time. The one item I'm really working on at the moment is my striped sweater by Andrea Mowry. I like stripes, and I want to knit more sweaters with stripes. So this is what I have so far. It's not my usual colors that I will wear. The grays are the usual colors. This is definitely my favorite color, but I'm not really a rusty orangey kind of, it's not what's in my wardrobe, but it's such a beautiful color knitted up. So I just decided it just fits, it just matches the other colors. So I'm just going to use it, and I think it won't be too bad. I think it's pretty. I'm knitting the size 4, and I did try it on. I'm at the depth of the yoke that she suggests that you uh, um, carry on for the body, but I think it's not deep enough, the yoke, for me. So I will have to knit another stripe, I think. before I can put the sleeve stitches on hold. And I'm a little bit worried. It's a bit fitted. I didn't want to knit a bigger size because I've seen a lot of the specific pattern that people have knitted with more positive ease that I would actually prefer, but it does, the fabric makes a lot of folds around the yoke. And I did see one or two podcasts that people were that they weren't exactly that they weren't that happy with the folds that were being created because of the looser fit. So what I think, I'm a little bit worried that I don't have enough ease on my sleeves. So I'm thinking of maybe increasing 6 stitches just over. I did put some markers in more or less where the sleeves should be, and it's a little bit, I think it should be a little bit bigger for me. So what I'm thinking of doing is increase 6 stitches to get to the next size for a little bit more positive ease on the sleeves. And I think I think there's enough ease on the body because I would do my usual increases anyway from underneath the arms in the body. So I think I'm going to increase 6 stitches in the sleeves. That's what I'm thinking of doing to get to the next size, sleeve size. I'm sure it will be okay. It's just a sweater. I'm sure it will be fine. But I'm happy with it. I'm using a very, very special yarn. It's a John Arbon base and it's organically sourced merino, 80% organically sourced merino and 20% silk. It's a sport weight, 338 meters on 100 grams. It was the natural base was imported by Mariki from Colors of Amalfi quite a while back, so she doesn't have any more stock of that left, and it was hand dyed by Marlene from One of a Kind Yarns. So this is the natural base that it was sold in. I was thinking of using this, but I think it's just the contrast is just, I don't know, it's just too much. So I don't think I'm going to use this one now, but this is because I've got this color. Look at I've got a very pretty bag, very nice huge bag ideal for sweater and that uses lots of yarn cakes. I've got this color that I think works well, and this is my favorite, of course. It's a charcoal purple. I just love this one. So it's a 3-ply and it's very, very airy and very light. It's very different from the superwash yarns available here in South Africa. It's definitely spun in quite a different way. I think I'm not sure, I don't want to say because it doesn't say how it was spun, but it's got much more air. I'm not sure if it's woolen spun or worsted spun. Our yarns, superwash yarns here, is all woolen spun. Yeah, I'm sure. So this might have been worsted spun, and I think that might be why it's so much more airy and light, because it knits up like a in the correct gauge in the sweater. And she asked for a sport weight, so that's actually the ideal yarn for that. So I'm looking forward in continue knitting my striped sweater. Yeah, as I said, I think I'm going to add one more stripe. She suggests, the pattern is by Andrea Mowry, I'm sure I said that, and she suggests that you put your sleeve stitches on hold in the middle of a stripe. That is not exactly how my brain works, but I'm going to try and follow the pattern and trust the designer. Okay, one other thing I really want to show you, sorry for disappearing off camera, is a corner to corner linen stitch blanket I started a long time ago with all my scraps of 2-ply sport weight. No, 2-ply super twist. I'm not going to say sock weight because that is what it was called here in South Africa. Is a 2-ply super twist sock, but it's a sport weight yarn. It's about 320 meters. It's a super wash 2-ply, and it's a lovely, lovely yarn, and I had quite a lot of scraps. So I started the corner to corner, started there at that corner, and then you increase on both sides. It's a corner to corner moss stitch blanket, or the other name that you can look for is a linen stitch. The tutorial I used is by the Cookie Snob. It's a photo tutorial that works great for me because I can make screenshots and save it on my phone or wherever, because there is periods that I'm not working on this blanket, and then I can forget exactly how I have to do the increases or the decreases. So that works quite well for me. She explains it very well. Yeah, so I just used scraps, and I was up to this red stripe when I used up most of the scraps that I had. So this is the width of the blanket. It's about, I think, 110 centimeters, if I remember correctly. And then it was put aside because I used all the yarns that I had for this project, and it was supposed to wait for more scraps, but I didn't use more 2-ply merino sock since then, that so that there was scraps left to put in the blanket. So I decided to just grab some cakes yarn, yarn that was already caked up. Some of it I bought on a sale from Cowgirl Blues, and it came caked up. So this is one of them, and this is also one. And I've got some from One of a Kind yarns, and I bought 2 of these magic cakes from Karoo Moon. But unfortunately, as if you know me, you will understand, I don't like the sequence of the yarn. And there's a lot of this chocolate brown color in the cake. So the one, I am using the one cake, but I'm cutting the magic knots to make my own combination. That's so typical. But in any case, when I was happy with, let me just see, when I was happy with the width of the blanket, I kept my stitch count, and I started decreasing at the one side while still increasing on the other side. And that gives you then a rectangle shape. But I didn't want the blanket to be too big, because then I will need a lot of extra yarn that I don't really have specifically for this blanket. So I did do about this. I did put a marker in. This is the rows that I made it in a rectangle shape by decreasing on this side, and now I'm decreasing on both sides. I'm decreasing at this side, and I'm also decreasing on this side as well. So I'm decreasing on both sides to start uh, um, shaping the other corner, the end corner, and then it will be more or less a rectangle shape and a very nice lap blanket size. I will put a border around it. I haven't even think what I will use or how the border will look. I'm just enjoying the process. It is slow. It's slower to crochet linen stitch, but the fabric it creates with this 2-ply super twist is just, it's just my favorite fabric. Yeah, I just can't get enough of it. But I'm at a stage. This is a nurturing fibers yarn all caked up that I also discovered in my stash. I'm going to add that, a little bit of that, and then I'm at a point where this might be put on hold for a little while again, because I don't want to repeat the colors that I've put in. I don't want to repeat it again. Then it doesn't look scrappy anymore to me. So I think I will add that. It's a very nice color. I will add a few rows of this one, and then I might put it away. I did make a lot of progress from this red stripe all the way up to here. I might put it away again for a little while until I've got maybe caked up some other colors again for a project, and then if there's some left one, I might add a few rows in the blanket. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. Just like double check. Yeah, 3.5 millimeter tulip, one of my favorite, it is my favorite crochet hooks. And I actually counted where it's at its widest before I started to decrease on the one side to keep it that rectangle shape. I had 180 single crochet chain one stitches. Yeah, so if that can give you an idea of how much linen stitches I had at the widest point. So that is the moss stitch. I think the Cookie Snob just made a square, but she shows you very clearly, and I like the way she does the corner with, she's got a single crochet and a half double crochet in the corner before you start decreasing, and that makes a really nice corner. Wow, that's a long episode. What can I quickly show you? I'm not sure how long my phone will record. I'm busy with a pair of socks. This is a pair of socks I'm busy with. Just a shorter pair of socks, and I'm using one of a kind yarns. I think she calls it Solasta, but it's the Soul base. It's a blend of merino, mohair, silk, and polyamide, and I love this yarn for socks. I'm using 2.25 millimeter. Definitely, my first pair of socks I knitted out of this base. It stretched a lot. So I went down to the 2.25 millimeter, especially when I'm working with this yarn. It's a 400 meters on 100 grams, but it makes lovely socks. So I'm using two different colors. This is the one for the cuff and the heel, and this is for the rest of the sock. And I've done it quite a few times, but I really decided that that will be my go-to method. My decreases for my gusset, usually you first do the knit two together, and then when you go to the other side you will do the SSK. But I've switched it around. I've seen it the first time, I think, on a sock tutorial series that Marley Bird had on YouTube, and I really like the look of that much more than when you first do the knit two together and then the SSK. So this side is, yeah, this is then, I can't even tell you which is which because they look so much more similar. Than when you do the knit two together first and then the SSK. Yeah, I really think that's my preferred way of decreasing the gusset stitches. So this is the socks that I'm busy with, and then the only other thing I quickly want to show you is a kit I bought in Norway when I was there in 2019. I talk a lot about it. I went with a group to Bergen and Oslo, and in Bergen we attended the Bergen Strikker Festival, and then we went to Oslo, and on the last day before we returned, we went to Fredrikstad, which I think, if I remember correctly, is the oldest town in Norway. And I didn't look for yarn there. That was not the purpose of the visit to that town. But I did found a lovely kit there, and it's for a Fair Isle scarf. It came in this box, which is immediately intrigued me, and I just grabbed it, and I knew I had to have it. The yarn is Esther, and it's it's from Denmark. Yeah, I think the yarn is from Denmark, and it's 55% wool and 45% cotton, which is an amazing combo of yarn. And I really wish that we had more of that similar combo of yarn here in South Africa. It's very light and very airy, and I think for a tube scarf it can be unpractical for our South African climate to wear in the winter, but not in this yarn. It's a very nice yarn to knit with, and very light. And this is the progress that I've made so far. I'm halfway with a star. I'm doing it with Magic Loop 3.25 millimeters, and I'm using Addy needles. Sometimes you've got quite a lot of yarns that you have to work with, but it's okay. It's not that often. In this one I cheated. I had to, actually that middle row had to be another color, but I just decided to keep it in that pretty turquoise color. I'm really enjoying it, but it is a slow knit. It's going to take me a while, but I don't mind. But it's very soft, and it's going to be light, and it won't be too warm for our climate. I think it will be perfect. and I'm really enjoying. I always wanted to knit a tube scarf, a fair old tube scarf. That was one of my have to do on my uh, knitting bucket list. And finally, I decided I just have to open the skit and start using it. It's almost 2 years. In September, it will be 2 years, and that's ridiculous. I really have to use these yarns. So I'm really enjoying this knitting the scarf, and I don't mind it. It obviously won't be ready for this winter, but maybe I will have the scarf to wear next winter. I'm looking forward to it, and if it takes me a year to do it, that's fine, because the it's quite a long scarf, as you can see. I think it's 2 meters long. So yeah, I can quickly show you, because you won't be able to do anything with it. I had to enlarge to make some copies and enlarge the charts. Don't laugh, but this is the chart, and so there's you do this is where I am at the moment. So you have to do all of that, and then you reverse it for the other side. So then I have to go back this way and this way. So this is not going to be a quick knit. And I just love my magnetic board. I think I bought it from Scarpy online. And it's got a, I don't know, maybe I lost, oh, here it is. So I use it like this, and it works quite well. So that is finally everything I have to show you today. Wow, almost an hour. That's amazing. It has been quite a while, so I think that is why it's such a long episode. I just want to say very welcome if you are a new viewer or a returning viewer and you've made it up to here of 1 hour. It makes me so happy to see new subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I really hope that you will stick around. And I know there's a lot of podcasts to watch, and I think what I've seen is that if a new podcast does get uploaded onto YouTube, it disappears. If you are subscribed to a lot of channels, a new episode really does disappear very quickly into the feed of your YouTube subscriptions. So it might be a good idea to use the notification bell. And what I also do with my subscriptions, I go to subscriptions, and there you can go through all the new episodes that has been uploaded from all the channels that you follow. So I really hope that you get to see this episode before it disappears. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to be back soon. Goodbye.